Bless up, bless up, bless all the way up. This is the day that I take this youngin' to the park. We finna have a blast. It's Saturday morning and I'm up and at it. Keto coffee got me jacked. This video, I'm gonna talk about sober living. I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about, I want to talk about solutions, though. You feel me? Like, what's the sustainable solutions? And so right now, you got all these people talking about opioid settlement dollars and everything. Praise God that people are interested in substance use disorder solutions, right? You know how it is with money involved, but I'm glad because we need the resources, but we also need that money to be spent in a way that's going to tackle some of the existing issues that we've been facing. Now, granted, sober living is one that I've been advocating for, partnering with ADAC to raise some bread, some funds for sober living. Shout out to Dogwood Health Trust who always comes through with putting, with the proposals. We add sober living cost in there to help folks out, and the other place, Illinois Health, is doing some good work. Sunrise's team with Ashley Hightower and them, they doing some good work. We're helping people with funds. You dig what I'm saying as it relates to sober living. But listen, like, what's a more sustainable solution for those people who are in early recovery that don't have a job? What is the sustainable solution? Because I'll tell you what you have now. So you have multiple programs that are doing great work, and I'll take it back some years. Like, even when I was working at AB Tech, you know what I'm saying? I was working at AB Tech running a workforce development program, serving people that are in early recovery and people recently released from prison. And I was running the program, and I had to explain to the business office, and I had to explain to some of the other leadership, like, why sober living costs had to be added into proposals. You know what I'm saying? People be thinking sober living is free. No, halfway houses are not free. They cost anywhere from $600 to $900 a month. You feel me? I know people that's paying more to stay in a halfway house than people are paying to stay in an apartment. They're paying more in some halfway houses than people are paying to stay in an apartment. That's neither here nor there, because both of them are probably in situations to where they deserve to be paying less, but that's a whole nother video. But today, I want to talk about what's a more sustainable solution. So what you have now, you have programs like Inspire, Recovery to Careers, who will pay for a month of housing. You know what I'm saying? That's my team. Whenever somebody get out of treatment, they hit us up. And a lot of times people be hitting us up. All they need is a month of housing paid for. They don't be wanting the peer support services or nothing else. They just need some help with paying for a month of their rent. It is what it is. I would prefer them to engage with the peer supports because I understand the opposite of addiction is connection. But a lot of times they don't be ready to stay fully engaged. They want to go build their recovery capital, and I get it. But they do need help with paying for a month of rent. So that's what we come through at. And we get referrals from ADAC. We get referrals from October Road CASP. We get referrals from First Step Forum. We get referrals from reverse referrals from the career centers, Goodwill. We rocking with these folks. We get calls from Oxford House. Shout out to Oxford House, Jordan and Jess and them. Them my boys, you dig? But, a lot of times these people, they be having urgent needs as it relates to housing, and housing is important. You got to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so you have programs like Inspire that'll pay for a month of housing. Illinois Health is another one. People can apply their foundation style, and they apply to Illinois Health, and then they'll make a decision on paying for housing for a person that's getting out of treatment. Then you got, like I say, Ashley and Hightower and them over there in a detention facility. They're doing a child support team and jail reentry stuff, and they got money to pay for a month of housing. Then you got RHA, they got something to where if you've been locked up in the Buckle County detention facility, then they can help you with a month of halfway housing funds. So you got these multiple programs. That can pay for like a month of housing, okay, to a halfway house. But each of these programs have limited funds. Listen, follow me now. Follow me. Each of these programs have limited funds. Each of these programs surviving off of grant dollars. You feel me? Applying for grants. And then in their grant application, they're adding sober living costs to it. And these sober living costs are typically for an individual that is indigent, an individual that is not working yet, an individual who is re-entering the workforce, an individual that probably has burned their bridges. They ain't got nothing. So we're putting in these grant applications each time and adding sober living costs. What's a more sustainable solution? What's a more sustainable solution now that we talking about opioid service dollars? So I am on the advisory group of the Recovery Community Collaborative, and we've been meeting for years. Before there was talk about opioid settlement dollars, before Dogwood Health Trust was on the scene, the Recovery Community Collaborative was meeting and talking about sober living and sober living accountability and credibility and all kind of stuff. You feel me? So in the Recovery Community Collaborative, we've been talking about how can we address this with a more sustainable solution that is helping people who don't have any resources, that are getting out of treatment and going into a sober living, going and hopefully getting a job or getting a training so that they can have gainful employment, right? So how do we do this? My idea, and I'm putting this out here in the YouTube world because I don't care if people steal ideas anymore. I'm over that, man. Somebody shared this quote with me, like, we get so much further whenever we do things that don't matter who gets the credit. So I'm no longer tripping on people stealing ideas and stuff like that, right? This is about wellness. This is about public safety. This is about healing. This is about addressing mental health stigma. This is about addressing the crisis that we're up against right now. You know, I done lost friends to overdoses. You know what I'm saying? It ain't even just, it's not a hustle to me. You feel me? Like, I done buried my friends. I done spoke at several funerals, memorials. I'm out here in these streets. You feel me? So like, I'm putting this out there. Hopefully some of y'all that got that clout in them spaces that you got to have clout in, we need to get sat down with Health and Human Services and public safety, whoever, and we need to talk about a more sustainable solution for the people in early recovery that need their housing taken care of. What does that look like? We're in the Recovery Community Collaborative. One thing that I had brought up is how the Oasis house was back in the day with Value Health. And it wasn't even Value Health back then. It was like Smoky Mountain or Western Highlands. This back when I was working at Neil Dobbins Center, when I was a case manager. What y'all know about Neil Dobbins? But like when I was there, they had that Oasis house. And that Oasis house would house people. I think that leaned more towards the people who was applying for disability and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is I think somebody is some nonprofit. It needs to be owned by a nonprofit. Some nonprofit somewhere needs to have a couple of houses, whether they're leasing the houses or own the house. I mean, opioid settlement dollars are massive. So maybe it's a big house that can house 10 people, 15 people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I'm throwing it out there because we need to have these houses that are owned by a nonprofit that can receive funds to where the nonprofit can house people without them being under the gun to hurry up and pay for a month of rent. And without these programs just throwing all this extra money in there to pay for a month of rent, how about we have a more sustainable solution, and then it can just be recurring to where people can get, you know, into a bed and they can even focus on the HRD stuff. That's another thing that people leave out, but I never leave out the workforce development part because that's my jam. My X factor is recovery to careers, recovery to work. So bridging the gaps to the workforce development resources, which includes some of these 9-degree short-term trainings that they have in the community college for high-demand industries. Instead of always wanting to throw people into food service, or always want to throw people into construction or some of these jobs where they go and substance use is prevalent. Now, it ain't nothing wrong with working in food service, ain't nothing wrong with working in construction. But anybody who woke, they already know what time it is with some of these workspaces, and they're not always recovery friendly. So maybe we have these beds available and we tell somebody you ain't got to pay nothing. You go do your soft skills training. I like to say essential skills, not soft skills, by the way. I don't really like to say soft skills. I call them essential skills. But you do your, yeah, baby, we here, boo-boo. You do your essential skills training, and you go take a short training at the community college or whatever, and you in that bed, you making your meetings, you know, you working with the peer support. This is a beautiful thing. This is realistic expectations to where we can really level people up. You know, and while they in the house, we can include, you know, financial literacy and just different things, man. You know what I'm saying? Like not just get them a job, but like transform their whole life. You feel me? And that's what recovery is about, a continuous uphill journey. You know what I'm saying? Transforming people's lives, and then to transform, turn around and help transform others, man. That's how it works. But yeah, man, I had to do this video this morning because I was on the phone with my right-hand man, Captain Manson, last night. We had a young lady who was needing to get needing to get some help with her sober living, and I thought to myself, man, we got to figure out a more sustainable solution for this, man. And I believe the solution is going to be having some houses owned by a nonprofit who is focused specifically on recovery housing for people that don't have resources. And while they're in that house, they get real wraparound services. Everybody want to use that lingo, social determinants of health and wraparound services. No. Break it down. Let's talk about real social determinants of health. Let's talk about economic security. Let's talk about access to health care. Let's talk about ending the stigma in certain communities. Let's talk about mass incarceration. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about the real social determinants of health. Help get down into the trenches and get these people housed and connected to the resources. Let's really do that, man. Instead of these programs chasing and throwing in money and paying a month for housing, let's have a more sustainable solution for it. And we got the funding for it now with these opioid settlement dollars. Let's talk about housing. And let's make sure we got the people at the table that's been doing the work. That's the other thing, too, I want to throw out there, but that's a whole nother video. Let's put the people at the table who've been doing the work, not the people that all of a sudden come on the scene whenever money was involved. You dig what I'm saying? My name is Change Agent Cooper. I'm not the answer, but I'm for damn sure the alternative. And Rosa finna have a blast at this park. And I'm super lit off this keto coffee. And I'm super lit on this video. And I have reason to believe that somebody that's listening to this video is going to hear my voice, amplify my voice, and we finna have a solution for many other people who ain't got no resources. Praise God ahead of time. Bless up.